I didn't know how to cope with that because my life is over, the life I had. And this new version they're presenting me, I don't like it. I don't want it.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Matt Brown, and you're listening to the Every L Podcast. Each episode, we'll have a different guest come on and talk about when life hands you an L, is it really a loss or is it something else? Because not every L's a loss. So sit back, relax, and do whatever you guys do to get comfortable as we get into this. Let's go. I have a fantastic guest with me, and I am excited to have her join me. I could go through how amazing she is. I could tell you how many ups and downs she's had in life, but I think I'll introduce her as Anna and ask her to please introduce herself as she sees fit.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm a podcaster as well. I have a blog and, project business called The Healer Hip Hop. I'm also a mom. I'm also a kidney warrior, as we call ourselves. I'm thinking of myself as a creative entrepreneur. That's what I came up with because
I like that.
Yeah, it summarizes like I have this creative side to me and I have this analytical side with me, and I am a businesswoman. So yeah, I think I'm that.
That's amazing. So we've known each other for about 2 years. About 2 years now.
Yeah, I thought more because yeah.
No, we just got that bond like we know each other for a long time. That's what that is.
Exactly.
But no, in the time I've known you, because we know each other through Music, Football, Fatherhood, because you're a part of that and you help with the upload of the articles and stuff like that. You come up with some amazing ideas that we normally run with because you are a good creative. But also you've gone through quite a few stuff. I'm just wanting to know, because obviously with this podcast, it's all about exploring the idea that when life hands you an L, is it really a loss or is it something else? And I think there's not enough conversations around it because we think it's very black and white that, you copped an L. All right, cool. What does that mean? And then really, was it really a loss when you look back in hindsight, or did you gain something from it? If it's all right with you, I want to discuss the first L, and you mentioned it's about kidney failure, because you're a kidney warrior. Please elaborate on that. Tell us how the journey started into that.
Yeah, first of all, I love the project because it's exactly for people like I was at that time, because I was a very healthy woman at that time, a young mother. I was, excuse me, I'm from Germany, so my English might be like I'm thriving. I was thriving at that time. I was an auditor. I've done all that by myself. I've been a single mom. I felt so powerful. And then out of nowhere, and I have no family history with that, and I was living very healthily. So I felt really insulted by life for getting this, because out of the blue, I had this kidney failure, and not just a little bit. I had, my kidneys had failed down to 20%. They were only 20% kidney function left. And that was not much. That's absolutely not much. And many people will have to go to dialysis at that point. I was lucky I was given another 5 years until I had to go on dialysis. But those 5 years were very, very hard for me. And it was very hard for me to accept.
And especially as a mom as well.
Everything. It was the mom part. It was me as a woman. It was me I was successful until that time. So out of the blue, I couldn't work for 2 full years. I was not able to work. So obviously after those 2 years, I was broke. Then I fought myself back to the business part, and I worked part-time for the remaining years. And that did something to me. It affected me because before that, I defined myself with being successful, and with being strong, and out of the blue, I wasn't strong anymore, and I was not independent anymore. I needed a lot of help. Yeah.
So in that stage of your life, what was going through your mind? Like, how was you feeling emotionally? The fact that, like you said, you're just doing your thing, you're thriving, you're being successful, and then life just came about and just whoosh. How did you mentally cope with that? Where was your headspace at then?
I couldn't cope with it. I think that's why it took me 2 years. I think other people, like, I think part of the 2 years I was not able to work was not just because of the failure and the less energy I had. It was the time that I needed to cope with it, because the one thing was everything I thought I was no more. So who was I? Who is me when I'm weak, when I'm dependent, when I'm not successful, when I'm not even able, when I'm not able to do what I want to do and what I thought I could. And the other part was being afraid, because I was told like I had to reduce my stress levels. And obviously the life I had lived, feeling this strong and independent woman, it was a very fast life, a healthy life in a ways that I never did drugs. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I ate healthily, but my life was so stressful. And I think that played a role in me getting that kidney failure. So I was told to reduce stress, and I didn't know. I mean, my body forced me to reduce stress, but there was this other stress of, okay, so if everything I loved before, like dancing, driving cars, working, just meeting people, doing things that normal people do, everything stressed me because I didn't have the energy. So there was just, I didn't know how to cope with that. It took me more than those 2 years. It took me 2 years to get back to a level where I was like, okay, take good care of myself and just stay in bed to have no stress at all, or whether I will have a little stress and at least feel like I'm living a life. Either way, my kidneys will continue to fail more, and eventually I will need dialysis. So there's no need for me to stay in bed, because that's not life.
Yeah,
so,
you're not living at that point.
Absolutely. So that's one way how to cope with it. I just made that decision, like, okay, even if I might feel stress, but if it's a positive stress, like me meeting someone or going to some kind of festival, like I'm not even talking clubs or dancing anymore. I couldn't do that.
Is it just the social activity?
Yeah. So just doing that I learned to see that, okay, some things give me energy back, so it's worth the stress, and that's what I had to redefine what life and living means to me. And I did that. And after that, yeah, I was able to work again, like part-time. And I kind of felt for the first time in my life, there is a certain joy in slowing down and just enjoying the little things. And that sounds so cheesy, but
No, it's fine.
I felt so grateful for just, okay, I can go home at 12 o'clock. I might not have as much money I used to have before, but I get to cook for my son, and I get to maybe have a little walk outside when it's still sunshine outside, and not sit in an office. So I really started to get a new look at life. And I had to deal with fears. I had to deal with the fear of, maybe if I go there or do that, my kidneys might fail worse.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to accept fear as a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no way to escape that. So,
and I think that's quite profound. A lot of us don't want to accept the negative parts of life. I think we shy away from it and think that, stay away from bad people, don't do anything wrong. And let's be fair, those that have always been in a bubble, always been protected, cuddled, just in that safety world, you look at them and say, yo, you're going to get so beat up in the real world because you just have no street understanding at all. You're just going to they're going to look at you and go, preppy, I'm coming for you. And I feel that life kind of is a bit like that, in terms of if you scraped your knee every now and again, if you haven't been roughed up a little bit, one day science is going to hit you one way and you're going to be like, either you're going to be down for the count or you're going to learn to pick yourself back up. Absolutely. And go again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've got a question for you, because I think it's interesting to explore it a little bit. What was your definition of success at that time?
Yeah, that's a good one, because Like, that's why I love your podcast, because clearly, looking back now, I would not want to live that life anymore. But at that time, my definition of success was what other people thought of me. Other people looked at me like, oh, wow, how does she do that? How can she be an auditor and be a single mother and drive her son to his dad on weekends, and then have a weekend like full of festivals and clubs, and oh, she's so strong and she's so, yeah, I don't know, having fun all the time. Like, that's how my life looked. Like, there were no people. It was just me thinking of what people might look like, but there were no people applauding me, but it was just my perception of what I thought I would have to be. Yeah. How I wanted people to look at me. Yeah.
So the success that you had formulated in your mind was based on the opinions of people that you had never actually heard say these words.
No.
And had never actually approached you and says, this is the standard I expect from you. You just...
No. And especially not the ones close to me, the people close to me, my family. They told me, your lifestyle doesn't look healthy to me. You seem to be running. Oh, and I forgot to mention that right before I had my kidney failure, I started to, I applied for another, it's a German thing. It's something like an exam, like an auditor exam. So I wanted to do that on top of everything else, you know, and I had my son was 5 or 6 at that time. So I don't even know where I was running to, but obviously I was running.
And, yeah. It's crazy because with what you've told me, it kind of reminds me of that phrase where they say, if you don't make time for your well-being, your body will you'll have to make time for your illness. That's
100% sure. That's true. And it's not even just that. I think it was my soul calling. My soul was like, this is not the way. That's not why you're here. That's not even what you like. You hate that job. you hate it every day. Why do you think that's successful? Yeah. You're not even getting anywhere. So I think it was my soul calling me, or making it very clear, this is not where we're going. So.
But at that time, did you feel betrayed by your body?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Body, life. I felt so betrayed by everyone. You know, you have to know that this was also a doctor's mistake, because my doctor that I went before my kidney failure, I went to him like 6 times a year because I was not feeling well.
Yeah.
And he never checked my blood pressure. He never checked my blood. So he could have known, and we could have stopped this maybe at 80% or 60% levels.
Yeah.
You know, so I was mad at him. I was mad. I felt so betrayed by my body, by life, then by the government, because money I got while I was sick.
Yeah.
That was, I was running out of my savings because the money I received was not enough. So I felt betrayed on so many levels. Yeah.
When you have something like that happen, there's a process that you have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you got learning curves and you got like a grieving curve as well in terms of how you process
Mm-hmm.
the information. I would assume if you've then been handed what some would say is an L in life, how did you handle that? Like, did you have any negative ways of coping with that?
Absolutely. I think I would cope with this now differently, but at that time, I think the right word in English is I was sulking.
Yeah, sulking.
I was sulking for 2 years. So how that looked was I was basically watching movies every day, sleeping, staying in bed. You might call that depressed. It was like my silent protest against this new reality.
Yeah.
I also, like, not in detail, but I really questioned myself. Do I want to resubscribe to this, to life? Do I really want to continue from here on? Because my life is over, the life I had. And this new version they're presenting me, I don't like it. I don't want it.
I need to ask this question because I think, I don't know why I haven't answered before, but I'm just thinking, right, if I am just going for a checkup
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden it's like, you're at 20%. Like, what does that conversation do to a person? Like, I would have probably, I can imagine I'd probably stop listening. I'll go into a bit of a daze going, sorry.
Yeah.
What does that, why is it not picked up? Like, where was your head? How did you not just get up and what?
Yeah. My problem was at the time I was at the hospital because, they like, I went there because, I had, like, I didn't see anything in my left eye. It was.
Oh, wow.
So I thought I had something with my eye. And then I went to the doctor. The doctor sent me to the hospital. They almost sent me back home. Just imagine. And if they did, I would have died pretty quickly because nobody detected it.
Yeah.
But the professor, he was like, your eyes are fine, but obviously you must have high blood pressure. And he checked my blood pressure and was absolutely through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the hospital already. So I knew, okay, things are severe, maybe.
Yeah.
But I've been there before. I've been there 3 times before. So I didn't think too much of it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a little bump in the road as usual, but whatever.
Yeah.
So then the doctor comes in and says, well, that's what you got. And then, the worst part was not even him telling me what I have right now.
Mm-hmm.
The worst part was him telling me what I'm expecting. Expecting was dialysis pretty soon.
Yeah.
A kidney transplant. And I knew at that time, like, there was no one available, like, in my family, be able to give me a transplant.
Yeah.
And the waiting lists in Germany, I knew that were very long, like 10, 12 years. So I knew that already.
Yeah.
Then he said, okay, but what we will try to prevent these 2 things is give you steroids like cortisone.
Okay. Yeah.
To stop the inflammation.
Uh-huh.
And that comes with the following side effects. You will get super fat. You might get diabetes. So that's what was what remained in my head. Like, in my head,
Wow.
I didn't care. Yeah, kidney failure, whatever. But what are you telling me? I'm a woman, and you're telling me like the worst things of everything that I didn't even know. And I told him that later. Like, I told him, you cannot do that like that.
Yeah.
You cannot. I couldn't process it. You cannot hit me with all the side effects of a potential drug you're potentially giving me to potentially stop an inflammation. So I had like a certain filter, and what else he told me is I couldn't get pregnant or shouldn't get pregnant anymore. And at that time I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I had a relationship at that time, like, yeah. So and that were the things I was most worried about. Like, oh my God, like, what's this doing to my body? What's this doing to, me as a woman? I mean, I was 28 at that time. So
it sounds like that was a very crushing blow in terms of a lot of your dreams and aspirations, a potential reality was just robbed from you in just one conversation.
Everything I wanted, everything. I couldn't process it. Yeah. I think it could have helped. Like, if at the moment of getting such a diagnosis, you should really get a counselor or some therapist or something, but they didn't have that. And the waiting list for a therapist was like 6 months. Well, within 6 months, I found ways, to cope. But those first months, I didn't even.
I know you said you was in a relationship. Were they someone you could talk to, or was there anyone else you could talk to kind of help you process this information?
The thing is, up to today, nobody ever really understood. No, I didn't. People who don't have this disease, they cannot understand it. The only people who could relate to me, or I could relate to, or understood how I felt, were people having a burnout or a depression because of the reduced energy levels and the feeling of you cannot rely on your body anymore. So I had a friend at that time who had a burnout, and sometimes, like, the very few times we met, we would meet and then say, okay, can we just not talk for 10 minutes because I'm super stressed?
Yeah.
So these were the people who understood me the most.
Mm-hmm.
But my family, they had like their own versions of having to process this, including my son, including my parents. But they had a different pain with this, but they could never understand what that meant to me. Never.
Yeah.
They couldn't.
That's really, I'm not gonna lie, I appreciate you sharing, because I can only imagine how much it might feel hard reliving these emotions and feelings. And my hope is that there is going to be people that listens to this. I'm not trying to do this for any self-glorification, but I just think there's not enough information out there that talks about when people have gone through hardships and how you initially felt. And if you're still here to tell the tale, share that story so other people who are going through it. Because I know when I was younger, I didn't understand that there was so many, I couldn't connect the dots. I'd watch TV and it would show me, like, I like to make jokes, but I'll make a joke like Will Smith might in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the original, not the new one. And, you know, it'll be funny, it'll be edgy, and then it'll go fade to black. And next, you know, everything's funny and laughing, move to the next scene. I tried them jokes with my mum. It didn't end well. So when you then got people going through what looks like depression or, you know, whatever the scenario is, it can fade to black and literally, you know, it's okay. That's fine. But I need to know what happened in that time for me to know it will be okay. Because if I don't know it's going to be okay, I'm going to end up writing my own version of that story.
Yeah.
And we might not get to the same conclusion, unfortunately. And I think it's just nice to try and create a hub. You know, why would I put this on anyone else to do when I potentially have the ability to do it? And I think you sharing your story, and I'm hoping this will resonate with people to sort of say, wow, yes, I might have been robbed of a situation I thought I wanted or I deserved or whatever, however you want to word it. But potentially there was a greater reason for why it happened.
Absolutely.
And I'm potentially in a more fortuitous position. I want to go with that word. It's my podcast. I'm making words up. Yeah, we're running it like that. But you could be in a much better position. The opportunity that you didn't get, that you thought was an L, is potentially one that wasn't for you and was potentially on a road to disaster. So I'd ask you this question. In regards to all the stuff you was doing and thinking and feeling, how did you find the strength to still be a parent to your son? Because I know when I love my son, but when I'm not well, I still find the strength because I don't know, I just love him. But I couldn't imagine being in a place where I was depressed, because I've had depression in the past. I couldn't understand, and this was before Avery was born, but I couldn't understand or see how, when I don't care about my own well-being, how am I then going to try and muster up the strength to care about another human being and still put on that happy face to try and create that environment you think they deserve, but you are just literally faking it?
The thing about me is that I used to fake my own life until that point. Like, I used to fake being happy. I used to fake feeling successful, feeling happy to myself. I faked it to myself.
Oh, wow.
So I was super used to that. That was not the problem to me.
Yeah.
The relieving part to me, and the first time in my life I had that, like, I was allowed to be weak.
Yeah.
So I was lucky to have, at that time, he had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful kindergarten.
Yeah.
In Germany, you go to kindergarten until you're 6 years. Oh no, I think he just started school, but after school, he went to that kindergarten. Like, they had lunch together and did some things together. So he stayed there, I think, till 3. So that helped me. So he was gone from 8 to 3. I did not have to cook lunch for him. So I had all day for myself, could sleep, lay in bed, sulk. And then at 3, I was ready to fake it. And then he gave me, oh my God, he was so sweet and he was so innocent. So I wanted to give him this. He gave me hope back. He gave me him loving me with all this, with me being weak, me laying in bed, me not being able to cook well.
Yeah.
So that allowed me to take care of him. But my mom helped a lot. Like there were many days, weeks I was too weak. Like I could not take care of him for a whole weekend. In the beginning, I could not. I was I was not fit.
Yeah. You need those hours of me time just to process it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just the processing. I at that time I started getting I don't know how you call it in the UK. It's somebody who helps me clean my house because I couldn't do it.
Just a cleaner or
I didn't have the strength to do it.
Yeah.
Because I was very, very weak. Like you have to imagine after the kidney failure and after the cortisone therapy thing.
Yeah.
I had lost all my muscles. So my main priority was to get any kind of fitness back.
Yeah.
And that's not easy with 20% kidney function because your energy level is just limited because your kidneys need time to clean your blood. So they would tell you right now, your blood is not clean, lie down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would like to ask you, how did you get from 20% kidney failure to where you are?
Kidney.
How did that happen? And when did the penny drop for you? When was a turning point for you? And what was it that kind of helped you just go, I can now see? When was that for you?
That's the key. Like the first years, I have to say years, I spent being and feeling like a victim. Like, okay, please somebody help me.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's why your podcast is very valuable for people who are in this phase, because I think this phase is part of it. Don't beat yourself up, because it was a big transformation from there to today. And right now, I'm so glad this happened, because I would not like to change my life. But at that time, it didn't feel good at all. And it didn't feel good at all for a long time. The penny dropped when finally I was told, okay, after 5 years, here we are, you have to do dialysis. That was crushing, because I tried to avoid it for 5 years and I was successful at that. But that also meant reducing my life a lot, because the 20% didn't remain. It was 17%, then 15, then 13. And that's nothing. And so my biggest fear was I was running away from this dialysis.
Could you just explain what dialysis is for those that may not know?
Yeah, that's a good thing, because I didn't really know what it was. All I knew is I didn't want it. I didn't even want to.
No.
Yeah, I didn't even want to know about it. Dialysis is, luckily we have that, because if I had like heart failure, there's nothing similar to dialysis. So the dialysis machine helps you to stay alive. And in order to do that, you go there 3 times a week. In my case, for 5 hours, sometimes it's 4 hours. You go to something like a hospital, and then a machine literally washes your blood. Like, obviously that involves blood being taken out of your body, being washed in some way that it's too difficult to explain.
Yeah.
And then getting back into your body. And this whole process is helpful, but exhausting.
Yeah.
And hurtful. And you're laying in that chair and you cannot move, because your arm, you have to keep your arm in one position. So you only have one arm left for 5 hours, 3 times a week. And as horrible as that sounds, and as much as I didn't want it, that was the best thing that happened to me. So right now I'm a full believer of everything you're afraid of. Please just go for it. Because it was the first time again in my life, I was granted 5 hours where I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to do anything. It was enough for me to just be there.
Yeah.
And that was to me, because I wasn't like that. I wasn't wired like that. I always felt like I had to prove something and fight something.
Yeah.
But there was no fighting. Just you being there is enough. So at first I started just watching, Netflix, Prime, everything. So, And then I was even too tired for that. So I eventually started podcasts at
Yeah.
that time. That was around 2015, 16. So it was still pretty young,
Yeah.
the whole podcast scene. But the things I heard in those 5 hours, oh my God, they were mind blowing.
Amazing.
Mind blowing about people like digital nomads, people just creating their own businesses, people starting their own podcasts.
Yeah.
And that it was now a time that these things were available for everyone, even for people who studied business, even though they had absolutely no interest in it,
Yeah.
and became an auditor, people
Yeah.
like me. So all of a sudden, my whole, the things I loved, music, hip hop music, I wanted to, I used to, actually, I am kind of a singer. I used to want to become a singer.
Yeah.
But the life I've created didn't allow for those things. So here was me at this dialysis machine, like being reminded of my old dreams.
Yeah.
And being encouraged to go for them, because now there's a time where everyone can just create and publish things, which wasn't possible, say, around 2000 or something.
Yeah.
So, that there was a lot of like this self-development podcasts I listened to as well. So all of those things, they put me back into my power. Like I've heard of people who had way worse conditions than me.
Yeah.
And who were making the most of it. And that really changed my life. So I promised myself at that time, while I was at dialysis, I promised myself those 5 hours, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
I want that. Even if I have a kidney again, I want that myself.
That's fantastic. So is that something you now do, like at least allow yourself?
I just remembered that, like recently I remembered, because I'm kind of back to hustle mode. So that's something that happens to most people who overcome hard things.
Yeah.
As soon as life is back to normal, as soon as I got my kidney from my dad, I'm back to the ordinary worries.
Yeah.
I should be grateful every day, but I'm still mad at whatever little things, So I just felt like, no, but at least now I'm more aware of me losing these goals and losing track. So I was like, this is not the life, not how I want to feel every day.
Yeah.
All this hustling and doing more and more. I don't want that. So I just thought about that, like allowing myself 5 hours of just not having to do anything.
Yeah.
And that if I'm able to do that, I will feel rich.
Well, let's be fair. Time is the greatest currency you have. Mm-hmm. And I think there is that phrase, every day you should meditate for 5 minutes. And if you're too busy, make it an hour. Like it is just so clever, so well put. You just feel like, mate, if you are too busy, make it an hour. You just feel like, oh, wow, I need to find 5 minutes. And it's
true.
I love it. I've got a question for you then, because I want to close off this particular segment. And I want to ask you a question now, which is, what would you tell your younger self at your lowest point at that moment? What would you tell them when you thought you was just handed the biggest L in life? What would you say to yourself about that?
I would say, and I do say that to people who are experiencing similar things right now, like losing their job or who are getting ill or having a burnout or depression. Not depression. I'm more careful with that, but burnout. I tell them, this is your soul calling and this is a big, big chance for you. So listen, because like those years I spent sulking, I was not listening to my soul still. So actually within myself, I congratulate everyone who's going through things like that.
Yeah. Because
usually it comes with a big transformation and a big chance to live a more purposeful life, a life closer to yourself.
Yeah.
But it depends on the person, of course. I mean, there are people obviously who've been through so much and who try to get up and who still get beaten down. That's different. But people like me at that time who feel like greater than life and who get beaten down, I would congratulate them. Like, finally, you have to listen. Yeah.
So your words to yourself would be, just listen to your soul. You need this. You need to hear what's being said.
Yeah. Like, this life works for you, not against you. So this is for you. So what is this trying to tell you?
It's safe to say that growth is an uncomfortable process, and pain is a necessary investment for progress. I stress that if ever you get ill or hurt against your will, it's just a quiz from God. This is our test. Yes.
So that's a nice segment, I think, to go on to the next one. This next L you want to discuss, I find very interesting when you sent it to me. And even now I'm looking at it going, really?
Mm-hmm. Really?
So for those of you listening, this next one that Anna will like to discuss, and don't laugh. It's a serious topic. Do not laugh.
Don't
worry, I'm going to laugh. Breaking my leg the day I wanted to quit my job. Like, come on. Really?
Yeah.
Right. Go on. From the top, how'd this go?
This was a test. Life was testing me. How much do you want to quit this job? So, okay, let's fast forward. So I'm on dialysis. I went to dialysis in 2015. Now we fast forward to 2016. So I got used to dialysis, and I was still in my old job that I hated, that I finally found out I hated. But that was the safest version for someone at dialysis, of course, because they were forced to keep me. So you should not leave your job, right? So now I was listening to all these podcasts and felt like, well, I should leave. Like, if I really follow these things, I should not continue wasting my valuable time and energy in a job where I cannot even progress there, because they don't even consider me a normal person anymore because of this kidney failure. So, okay, so I get this job offer, a very good one, by a startup, a young guy who needed a business development manager. Never done that before. And obviously, I at that time, I've been on dialysis, I think, almost a year. So pretty stable, but still dialysis is no joke. And at any time, things can go wrong and you might have to return and go back to the hospital. So you clearly should not change your job, right?
Yeah. You need that stability. You need to have that money still coming in, everything else.
Exactly. So this guy comes and asks, okay, he wants me for the job. And I said, okay, you know what? I have this situation. I'm on dialysis. I can give you my part-time. I can be there for you from 8 to 12. Then I have to go to dialysis or home. So I can offer you that. And he was okay with it. And then I told my old employer, look, you have a chance to get rid of me. And we both want that. So I have an offer for you. I will start working for this guy for 3 months to see if it fits.
Yeah.
And if after 3 months I decide I want to work for him and everything's cool, I will quit my job at your company. And within those 3 months, you don't have to pay for me. But if I don't like it there, the job is still mine right here with you, right?
Yeah.
So we had this arrangement. I liked the job. I wanted to, 3 months were over. So I was just on my way to go to my company after 3 months and tell them I'm leaving. You're rid of me, and I'm going to that new company. And I am falling down the stairs that I've walked down millions of times because it's in my house.
Oh, wow.
I'm falling down, and not just a normal falling down your stairs. I fell down in a way that I broke my thigh, and not just a normal. I don't know.
You're laughing about it now. Gosh, I'm cringing right now. I'm like, oh.
It was like my whole thigh from the knee to the hip. It was like a whole cut through it. It was painful. And I was like, when they took me to the clinic, and it took them like 2 doses of morphium to get me there because it hurt so much. And then they told me, you broke your leg. And I was like, no, because I need to go to my job and quit my job.
I got things to be doing today.
Yeah. You do yours and I do mine, right?
Oh, God. You guys see me enough here already. I don't need to come back here for another visit.
Oh my God. And then I had a decision to make. I had to really decide, okay, do I risk this new employer who, like in German law, your new employer can get rid of you at any time with no reason within the first 6 months. So do I risk the broken leg and still go do the new job?
Yeah.
And risk him, like, how do you call it? Like laying me off after 2 months or something?
Yeah. They could fob you off to sack you, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Or do I still continue with my job? And I still quit my job. So, and that's why I'm such a believer in where your worst fear is, like dialysis or leaving a job. If you really have a good option, do it. Don't be afraid. There is no escaping those things. And that was the best thing I could do. And that really, and just that experience, it made me feel strong again. And it made me feel like, okay, I'm not a victim anymore. I can still decide things, and I'm not just that sick person that doesn't have any more options. I still have options. So yeah, that was very empowering for me.
So when you had that fall, that terrible sounding fall, are you traumatized by your stairs, by the way? Because I feel like I would do. I'd look at them sideways and go, I'm moving house. No, you done me dirty. Like, come on.
I sometimes when I walk down these stairs, I'm looking at them like, I mean, I still don't get it. It's just 4 little stairs.
Hang on, it's only 4 steps. Like,
yeah, but I fell from the top to the bottom.
No. Only 4. I comfortably jump on 4.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me not say that, because watch how I'll say that. And next thing you know, I'm on the other end of the mic going, oh my gosh, I went to do this and I bust my leg.
Yeah. I did, like, I tried to, my phone was in one hand. So I tried to hold myself, like when I felt that I'm falling, I tried to hold myself at the, what is it called? That thing where you hold
railing.
Railing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I did a turn. And then within turning, that's when I broke my leg that stupid way. But if I didn't do that, I would fall on my head. And I think that's way worse. So yeah.
I'm going to just dash the phone and myself. I just think that's probably
No. There was no time for that. There was absolutely no time. I was already falling when I realized that was a very quick.
That sounds absolutely painful. With you then breaking your leg, being all that pain, obviously dialysis is still very fresh.
Yeah.
How did you keep yourself from slipping into a relapse of how you felt previously? Because obviously life has already handed you an L and you're thinking, okay, I've got this. This isn't the L that, okay, no, I can make this work. And also you're like, yeah, right, a startup opportunity, bang. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Exactly.
What is going on here? Is it a buy one, get one free? Why has this happened to me again? What am I going to do? And then now you're meant to not be stressing, but now you're faced with a decision that's going to impact not just your own life, but obviously your son's life and everything else that you're trying to plan around. So you're thinking, so I can stay in my job that I absolutely do not like and doesn't not want me, and I don't want them. I can go to this startup, which sounds like a fantastic opportunity. And I can give them 100% because I'm here. They're doing part-time. But hang on, what? I've now busted my leg.
Yeah.
And if I can't keep up because maybe I'm in too much pain and I just need a little bit of time, they might say, do you know what, Anna, you're a lovely girl, but you're kind of not cutting it the way you was during them 3 months that we went through.
Yeah.
How did you cope with that and not slip back into that negative headspace?
Because I had a goal. My goal was, I saw an opportunity and I wanted to go for it. That's what I still wanted. And my opportunity was the new job. And there was something that happened or tried to keep me from that new job and the goal. But my goal was to escape my old. It felt like a trap before, it felt like that's all you get, that's all you get. For 5 years, you don't have a kidney. or not much of a kidney function now, and you're trapped. You're forced to live a life. You're already forced to live a reduced life, and then within that, you're forced to work for people and with people. I mean, there were some of them who were, I had fun with because they were young and they were nice and they saw me as who I am, but my bosses didn't, and I was just like, yeah, we have to,
Yeah.
And that didn't feel good. I have a little pride, I don't. So I just didn't want to accept the limits of my life. I didn't want to accept that. I didn't want to accept what I don't know, what my fears told me to accept as my reality. I did not want to.
I think that's something that a lot of us would be good if we reminded ourselves more frequently.
Also, what helped, working part-time, I had only a little amount more than what you get here in Germany if you have no job at all.
Hang on, what?
If you're like on welfare.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah.
So I was like, literally, how much worse can it get if I lose the job?
Yeah.
What am I afraid of, really? Like, what can I really lose? Like, I'm already, and with the old job, I knew they already told me, like, every year I might get 1 or 2% more, but I would never, no matter how good my brains are, no matter how much I know, they would never promote me. They told me that. So I knew I would not even, I would not earn a euro more than that. So why would I stay with that? And then on the other hand, I had the opportunity to progress,
Yeah.
So no. Mm-mm. I got fearless, and that was very empowering. Yeah.
So do you think then, obviously the first L was sort of, it was defining in terms of it helped your mindset change, the time that you had to listen to other people, create a new pathway for themselves, not relying on employers or whoever else to make it happen for them. Do you think all of that contributed towards your approach to when what looks like an L? Because there's probably other L's that have been handed to you in the life. But since obviously what's happened then, you realize that maybe that L isn't a loss. It's an opportunity. It's a learning. It's how much do you really want it? Because I want to test you right now, because if you could just walk into this job, it's easy to make that decision. But if there's something that gets put in your way, how much do you really, really want it?
That's how I look at things. I learned how to look at things like that because life rewarded me for overcoming those things, I just remember 2 years prior to that was a game changer as well. All my life, I used to sing, but I never sang in front of people.
Okay.
So then I learned that's something I allowed myself while I was having that kidney failure. And that was one part of me getting back into life, was me taking singing lessons.
Okay.
And then the teacher said, look, it's fun learning with you, but I think you should just come and join my stage.
Wow.
So yeah, I was like, okay, thanks. I know I can sing, but I know I cannot sing in front of people.
You can sing, girl.
So I accepted the challenge, and I really made the decision. I want to sing on that stage with her. And the day before that, I had such a strong cold, and my voice was gone and everything. And that was a test.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm getting on that stage, even if I don't have a voice anymore, even if I have fever, I'm getting on that stage. And I did.
Yeah.
And after that, there was no cold, no coughing. It was just a test. My body was afraid.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what happened with the stairs. It's like my body was like,
yeah,
danger zone. We're not leaving that job. So I looked at it like that. And also what dialysis taught me, the only reason to go to dialysis is to continue living.
Yeah.
If you don't go, you will die within a week or two.
Yeah.
So why am I going there really? For that job? No, I'm not. So I'm going there because I want to live a life that I like. At least like.
Yeah.
And that made my decision easy. It made it an easy decision. Like, I don't care. I don't like it there. So I'm going to this way. And if they don't want me, I will find another way for me to have a life that I like. But fear will not stop me anymore. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That you're going to dialysis to stay alive. But why are you staying alive in an environment that you don't?
Yeah. Ask yourself. Yeah.
Why am I putting myself through this drama if I
Yeah.
don't even like the environment I'm in? That's levels. That is so wow.
And actually it's like that for everyone. It's just not as visible, but everything you do in order to get by, don't you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to go to work, but you're going to work so that you can live.
Yeah.
Right. So why are you doing that? It's just that in my case, it was more visible. Like, okay, I don't have to do this. But actually, it's like that for everyone because you don't know how much time you have here. You know?
And it's important that you make the most of it. And as a mutual friend that we both know, Kalai, will say, live full, die empty.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I can't stress so much how the conversation we've had just feels so important to me because I'm hoping this is something that will live beyond any of us and always be relevant to other people to pick up and understand that bad things will always happen. But
yes.
A bad thing doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing to you. Because I got taught when I was younger, and this guy, don't ask me why he told me this, but I didn't understand at the time. He said to me, Matt, do you know it's good to have bad people around you? I'm like, what? What? Why? And he's like saying, because you learn from their mistakes. And that was his perspective.
Yeah.
And he liked me enough to share that with me as a young boy to know that I didn't have to go down a bad path to know how to dodge the consequences of that, but I can see them.
Nice.
And I think we need more of that. We need more of that in life because unfortunately I grew up in a time where there was youth centers. So where my dad wasn't around, there was youth centers where there was maybe an older guy there that would sort of say what he had to say to me, call me out on certain stuff. Fine. My mum couldn't do that. But now we don't have that. So having a hub like this where people can share, whether it be a guy, girl, or however they identify, can share their stories, it should hopefully encourage others to know it's okay. We've all been dealt these dodgy moments. We've all felt these things where, oh my gosh, I can't continue. Oh, the world's against me. Oh my gosh, why have you just taken what I said I wanted the most? I've fought so hard, made all the sacrifices. Why? And in your instance, you're saying it's because it's a test. Do you really want it?
It's a test. And you know what? Let me tell you, these things prepared me for my life now. Because one more thing, all my life, like I didn't know my father. Yeah. I didn't know him, didn't have a picture, didn't know where he lived, didn't know him. So after, like, I didn't even want to look for him because I was afraid of him saying, no, I don't want to know you. So now I was not afraid anymore. Now I was on dialysis. Now I had this new job. I quit the old one. I didn't even care if I lose the new one or not. So now fast forward 6 months, I didn't like the new job and I just quit. And I did not even have a job. Wow. I did not care anymore. I was like, you know what? I'm doing websites now. I'm doing my podcast. I'm doing websites. Yeah, let me see how that goes.
Yeah.
So now I had time and I wasn't afraid anymore. And that's when I looked for my father. And I did not even look for my father to get a kidney because it does not work like that.
Yeah.
But it ended up like that. It ended up like me not only finding my father, it ended up not only me finding a new job because of the people I made websites for. It ended up my father offering me a kidney.
Yeah.
So I was rewarded so much for my courage. I was rewarded so much for not being afraid, not being a victim anymore, but being a creator of my own life.
Yeah.
And always looking for opportunities and deal with the things that I'm given, including lockdowns. And I'm prepared for that. I mean, right now we have this Ukrainian thing. I don't like it. And it does affect me. It does affect me. But I know now I really have the capacity to deal with everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't have it back then because I never had to learn it not like that.
Yeah.
And I also know that part of this is always to allow myself to feel weak. And I didn't never allow myself to feel weak before that.
I think that's super powerful. You know, I appreciate the honesty there. I think a lot of us may not want to admit that we just keep ourselves busy. Like, I know recently I've just kept myself super busy, and I've been called out on it by loved ones telling me, are you okay? Because you are stacked with things to do. And I know what I'm doing. I am busying myself for a reason, but I'm okay to listen to other people as well and to check myself. And I am going to drop some stuff. I have to. But I think sometimes we can get numb to the pains that we feel, and that's dangerous. Yes, sometimes it is a test, and sometimes we just need to know the distinction between, is it really a test, or my body's saying, yo, pump the brakes because I'm going to crash.
That's true. Yeah, that's of course, that's an important decision. That's what I have learned as well, because there were signs before my kidney failure, but I didn't want to listen to my body.
Yeah.
So now my body talks to me and I listen.
Yeah.
And I know the difference between what is fear
Mm-hmm.
and what is, I'm exhausted. I'm hurting. I need to process things.
Yeah.
So there's room for that. Yeah. There's room for that too. So that's an important distinction. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
You know, it's just something I'm mindful of and something I got to do. And I think conversations like this are healthy. You mentioned earlier on in the episode that, you know, you could talk to people if you're quite draining and stuff like that. And that's, I fully get that. As much as I like talking to people, I avoid it because people want to talk to me. And I think they like talking to me because sometimes I can give them life, I can give them energy because I'm super positive. But some people just drain that energy out of you, and you leave that conversation feeling super drained, and you feel like, yo, I don't need to see you for another 10 months at least. And even then I'm getting exhausted thinking about when I next see you. Yeah. So in this capacity, I'm having people on that I vibe with. I've always had a sort of good relationship with. They've got a story to tell that I think will encourage other people and will live longer than ourselves. And I think that is super important, because I would like to ask you the question, which I think is important, because I'm trying to keep it close to your heart so that you can be as honest as you want to be. What would you like your son, if he was to listen back at this in however many months, years time, what do you hope that he gets from this, if it's only him that hears the story?
Oh, he was there. He saw my story. We are constantly talking about these things, because I encourage him. I really encourage him to go for what he likes. He's still stuck in this system that tells him he needs a certain degree to be someone.
Yeah.
So there's that. I cannot change it. I don't want to take that from him. That's okay. He lives in this society, and he has to make his own decisions and experiences and even failures. That's fine. But what he knows, and he's seen it with me. He also sees it with other friends and my friends' family. Don't just follow what everybody does for the sake of belonging.
Yeah.
When really that's not for you, and when it's draining you, and when it exhausts you, because the success you think you will get out of it, or the appreciation, it will be gone in a second when you're weak. So that's nothing. That's nothing you can build on. And that's not even worth it. That's not worth the money you earn. That's not worth the cheers or the claps you get, or the image you have of yourself. Don't build on things you can lose in a second. You know, experience and good experiences, good friendships, things you really, really learned because you wanted to learn them. This will stay with you. But just doing something, what everybody does, like some job or some study something, do this job and then get a promotion just for the sake of doing it because everybody does it, that will not, if things get tough, this will not, there's no value behind it. This will not help you. This will not hold you. So don't just blindly follow what people ask you to do or what people do.
No, that's great. And I appreciate he's been through it with you. And I'm so grateful he has been because, like you said, if he wasn't here, might have had a different ending. So I think it's important that we have these conversations because, I could say the same to my son, yes, you've been through this, but when you hear this back, you might be older in a very different place. And I think hearing your words talk about your experience and how, the L's that were handed to you, you can write them off and say, at the time, the biggest L I've been offered both times. But you know what? I just call that something else. It's not an L. It's just a learning curve. It's an opportunity. It's a test that I've now passed. And I think that's beautiful. What I'm going to ask you to do, selfish plug, tell everybody everything about you, where they can find you, your socials, what's going on. Because I hear festivals in the works at the minute, if I'm right. So please take the time and do what you got to do.
Thank you. As I said, I'm a creative entrepreneur. So I don't only have one business. I have two. I have thehealerhiphop.com is my website. Right now, a lot of the content is German, but it will be English because I'm now doing a German hip hop festival, an online festival. But the next festival will be in November and it will be international. It will be European and African artists.
Fantastic.
And I'm also working on an online course about this whole transformation process, because what could have helped, what I know now, is getting into the process of being creative, because that reminds you how much is still inside of you, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
So if you just experience, okay, when I start drawing or when I start singing or beatboxing, wow, look at what is inside of me. But we rarely take that time. So there's an online course about the whole using creativity to help these big transformations that many people go through. It's not just sickness. It's losing your job. It's burnouts. It's whatever things, breakups, divorces. So there are big transformations in life. So that's something I'm working on. I also want to do music myself.
Ooh.
That's on the list. So, so you can find me on Instagram mostly. It's at The Healer Hip Hop. And then the other business, well, that's mostly German. It's called Digital Business Angel because I want to help other people in my position, especially women, especially mothers, using these big opportunities that we have nowadays with the online world.
Yeah.
To free themselves from those limits that they think they have, because maybe they're single mothers, maybe they're chronically ill or lost a job or something. So yeah, these are the things I'm doing, and I love doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
No.
And I could not always say that, but I'm happy I can say that now, and I earned it. Yeah.
Brilliant. So I'm going to let you end on this part, if it's all right. Your L's, what would you call them if not an L? What have they been to you?
They've been soul callings or the greatest gifts of my life, apart from my son and my kidney.
Fair enough. Thank you very, very, very much. Thank you very much to listeners for taking the time out of your day to just join the conversation. Would love to hear your feedback. Go follow Anna. Support what she's doing. If you're good on your German, definitely hit her up. She'll show you, like, hear how good her English is. She sounds better than I do. And I'm a native English speaker. But, that's another conversation for another time. Thank you very much, Anna. You've been an absolute angel and I absolutely adore you. You know this from day. And I'm grateful for our friendship. I just love all that you've done. And I'm so happy that you're still here. And I'm sorry to say this because it's going to sound a bit horrible, but I'm kind of happy you went through what you went through so that I get to meet this version of you, because I think this version of you is absolutely spectacular and I'm so grateful. And I think your son is in a better place because he has a mum like you in this position who can see things and is not doing what she used to do and potentially then would have crashed. So, yeah, listeners, thank you very much. Hopefully you learned in this episode that there are some big L's being dished out left, right and center over here, but not all of them are actually a loss. Some of them are a test. Some of them are opportunities. Some of them are greatest gifts and you just don't know it yet. So look after yourself. You've been listening to the Every L podcast and I look forward to seeing you or hearing from you next.
And check your blood pressure, please. Check your blood pressure and look if you can donate an organ or become an organ donor or anything, because people out there really, really need that help. Yeah,
definitely do that, because I gave blood yesterday and I think that's my 4th time doing it.
Big clap for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, really, really. I needed those things. These are so necessary, and you feel so helpless already. So knowing that there are people out there donating organs or blood or plasma.
Yeah.
These are little things that are so valuable for those people in need.
Yeah, because I'm down for the bone marrow as well, because I think I'm something, negative, I think. Or
I think me too. Yeah.
And RO, so they said they need me. So yesterday when I gave blood, I took a picture with the syringe in my arm and I literally just put a caption over it saying, doing my bit to help someone I don't know and a family I may never meet.
Yeah.
And I just think, I hope I don't, but I'd like to think someone out there is going to be in a much better situation because of the choice I made on the day.
Much better. It's really, really needed. So thank you for that. In the name of all chronically ill people.
Things can change in a blink of an eye. So, if I don't drink, smoke and all that stuff, why am I keeping this to myself? Let me share it with other people who may need it. So, no, definitely that. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to catching up with you offline. And thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.